My name is Mark Myers. Most people just call me the Burro Man. I travel the country with my dogs rescuing donkeys from abuse, neglect, abandonment, or sometimes it's just wild burros that the government doesn't want anymore. My staff helps me care for more than 3,000 donkeys all across the country. Donkey rescue is not what we do, it's who we are.
Hi, my name is Richard Bruner. Hello, my name is Richard Bruner. I'm the farrier for the Peaceful Valley Donkey Rescue, and today we're going to go through some correctives and trimming and maybe a little bit of therapeutic stuff. Okay, here we go with the left side. Same donkey we've been working on. We already did the right. As I can tell, she's standing a little bit upright, has a little bit too much toe. Not terrible, but just needs a standard trim, so we'll kind of go over it and see what we find. I'm going to start with just a real basic clean. Just kind of clean it out and see where we're at. As I start cleaning the hoof, I'm already looking to map out the hoof of what I want to trim and what I don't want to trim. And just a basic overview of a hoof on a donkey. You're going to have a more pronounced frog, and it's going to be set back more than a horse. Horses, even mules, they're more forward, but they're not as thick and pronounced as a donkey's. A donkey... Donkeys obviously have more heel than horses, have more of a U-shaped hoof. That's funny. One more. They go in threes. Oh, four. Okay. Donkeys obviously have more of an upright hoof, more heel than a horse. Not any more toe than normal, than any equine, but it does have to be addressed. Another thing I want to look at is the center sulci of the frog, which is right here, which is just the center of the frog, and you got the medial and lateral sulci. So everybody... That was not me. Okay, we got the sulci of the frog, medial, lateral, center sulci. We know what this is the frog. Right here are the bars. They're always shorter and a little more upright than other equines. Here we have the sole. This is the apex of the frog, which is just the tip of the frog. And of course we've got the wall. The white line is in here. We'll show that here in a minute. When I start to trim one out and debris the sole, I always take small cuts so I can see what's dead and what's not. When I find a dry, chalky looking white, like right here towards the heel quarters, I know that that's dead. See, it's just flaking off. That's just dead hoof. It's not going to hurt if I cut into that. As I go down, and the reason I trim out the sole, which a lot of times I just use my nippers. I've got to where I can handle it pretty quick, but I'll show y'all with a knife for educational purposes. The reason you clean out the sole is you don't want the sole making much contact with the ground. You want the whole outside of the foot, which is the hoof wall, to be your load bearing. The sole can touch, but it's best if it doesn't. If it does stick out higher than the wall itself, you'll have a crippled animal. So as I trim down, I'm noticing still have a chalky hoof. And right here, that cut right there is showing a waxy, white, clean hoof. Now that's new hoof. You don't want to go much past that, if any at all, because that's obviously you're cutting into new sensitive lamina. All right, now that I know we're here, my bars are cleaned out, everything's smooth, the sole is cleaned out. I can see she's probably had either a touch of laminitis at one time, or that's just thrush. You can see these cracks and this distortion right here in the white line. This will be the white line. It's hard to see, it's not white right now, but it will be as soon as I trim it. As far as heels go, yes, donkeys have more heel than other equines, but that doesn't mean that they need to be stood upright. We want the frog to make contact with the ground. When the frog makes contact with the ground, there's a circumflex artery that comes down through the leg, and it's right underneath. It comes right over the top of the digital cushion, and that opens and closes and shoots blood into the hoof. If the frog's not touching the ground, that doesn't work properly. So we always want to trim back the heels, and you'll get a more balanced foot if you trim the heels down properly. There's always an exception to the rule. One doesn't have enough heel. Oh, baby. But this little girl looks pretty good. You'll notice I didn't trim much off of the sole. Oh, baby. Uh-oh. Let's come this way. There you go. Now I can show you here, I didn't trim much off of the sole because we don't have the ground side length. What we have is dorsal length, the front of the wall. You can see a dip right here in that hoof. That's not normal. You don't want that. So when we pick the foot up, we can see the distance from the apex of the frog to the toe is greater than the apex of the frog back to the palmar side of the frog. There we go. It's a greater distance. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this off the hoof wall, because you can see right here again, we don't need it. That'll expose whatever disease we have going on right here in the white line. It's already dead. You can see when you trim it, it just pops off. There's really nothing there. You've got the walls themselves. You can see the white line here now. It comes all the way through. It's diseased here. But the walls themselves have a uniform thickness. We want that thickness to go all the way through the toe. And because of this disease, it's pushed the toe out, and she has too much toe. So we're going to trim that back. Try to even it up. And when we do this, what it does is it exposes all that dead stuff. And by doing that, I got 90% of it cut out right there. Got a little bit of a flare here. And I always like to trim off these edges, sharp edges. Now you can see the sole is actually sticking up more than the wall. There's the white waxy live sole I was telling you about. We can trim that down a little bit so that she doesn't have too much contact with the ground. But here you can see it's raised, it's higher than the sole. Still have good hard sole to go ahead and clean this out and get it down to normal, where it should be underneath the height of the hoof wall. Okay, now the frog, there's not a lot to do with this. It's got some small tags that'll harbor infection or disease, so all we want to do is just trim the top of that off. Get it down to clean frog. That way it can grow out properly and healthy. One last little pass there. And for a donkey that's not taking a shoe, that's being turned out, just regular maintenance, that's about all one needs. And a stretch. And as the foot goes back down, you can see she's not so upright and doesn't seem like she's standing forward up on her toes. And we've got the toe backed up for optimum breakover. This guy seems to have a fairly normal foot on his right side. His left front may have a little bit of clubbiness going on, which is kind of odd for donkeys, but because they're already upright anyway. But might have a little bit of a fungus growth on the dorsal wall, which is the front of the hoof. We might be able to trim some of that off and clean him up. His pastern axis is definitely broken back, so we'll try to just straighten that foot out and make him a little more comfortable, and see if we can get some good results from just a good basic trim. I'm going to go ahead and do the other foot first, the good foot, right quick. That does sometimes give me an indication of how much pain the actual other foot is in when they stand on it, whether kind of see what their pain threshold is. Come here, big fella. Oh, big boy. Oh, big one. Get him to settle down. We'll get right to work. Same thing, just a general cleaning of the hoof. A little trim of the frog. We want the frog to make contact with the ground. Oh, big fella. We want the frog to make contact with the ground, but we don't want it overgrowing and putting too much pressure. Hello.
Don't leave me out.
And we're just going to give a quick normal trim for this guy if we get him to still. When you're dealing with animals that have lameness issues, you don't want to neglect the good foot because that's usually the one they're putting all the pressure on. No biting. What you'll see me doing here, he'll be still or not, is the hoof wall is kind of split. You can see this right here, and that's pretty normal, but you want to go ahead and cut it off. You see me rounding the edges. When they get splits like this, if you round those edges, it'll stop a lot of that. You won't have to worry about it breaking off again. And maybe causing further discomfort. I got a good jumper this time. Come on. Okay. Now we're gonna see what we got here. I think probably at one time this guy had a really long hoof, and it's gotten so out of control in the past that it probably has changed some of the dynamics and the anatomy of the foot. So that's probably one reason he's got a broken pastern axis. But we'll see if we can't help him a little bit. Come on, buddy. Come on. There we go. Okay, right away I can tell there's a whole lot of dead hoof in the sole and the wall itself. Just by the initial cleaning. I'm going to clean out as much as we can. Try to find the live hoof, then we'll have a map of where we need to go. Most likely going to have to couple trims on this guy. Come on, big boy. I'm going to be fairly aggressive with this first cut because it's obviously dead, and it's probably what's causing him his discomfort. If you have too much wall, too much toe, It can actually cause a lot of discomfort inside the hoof capsule. So, there's our first initial trim. You can see the sole looks good. The wall is very thick, looks very good, but we've also got this extra growth. That right there in itself will delay the breakover of the hoof and cause a lot of stress inside the hoof capsule. We can get rid of a lot of that and make him feel comfortable. I'm going to give him a quick little break so he's not so mad at me. Huh, buddy? You're making me sweat. All right. Now in his case, all of this dead white looking part of the sole is actually dead sole. It hasn't exfoliated. You can see that first cut I made here is kind of a waxy white. That right there is indication of live sole. That's about as deep as we need to go. Here is an old abscess. I can kind of cut it open, show you the hole. It's already done what it's going to do. Pretty sure that's not affecting him right now. Unless there is a little bit of thrush up in there that might be separating the hoof wall from the sole, but I don't think that's his problem. He's got another one here. It's old. It's already done what it's going to do, so we're going to finish cleaning out the sole, get down some good live hoof so I have a map of where I need to trim. There's not a whole lot left to do to this guy, except cleaning and balancing the foot just a little bit. We want to bring these heels back, that way we make good contact on the ground with his heels. Oh, big boy. Okay, all of this extra growth on the front here, it's dead. There's no reason we can't just go right through it. Clean it off. Most of the time it just flakes right off, and it's kind of what it's doing today. Kind of give him a little bit of a normal shape to his foot. And work down the front of the hoof wall just a little bit. You can see it's dead. You can see the growth rings in it. It's been dead for a while. Whoop! Don't fall down. And just a little quick cleanup. I don't use a rasp very much. A lot of people ask me why. And I don't really think I need it just to do trims. I'm not putting a shoe on him. So I don't really... Almost done, fella. Now we're just going to trim off the wall a little bit to keep it from cracking. Give him more of a normal shape, more normal look. And with continued trimming, we should be able to get that to straighten out quite a bit. There you go. Now his pastern axis seems to be more balanced. It's not broke back. It's a little more upright like he should be. Just from getting the toe out of the way. That's him. Please remember the Peaceful Valley Donkey Rescue is supported entirely by private donations. If you'd like to donate, go to our website, donkeyrescue.org, and please donate today. Thank you.